We're looking at questions. Now we've looked at all these four tenses, we can start looking at how to make the questions. Now, when we create questions in the English language, this is the structure we use for all of the tenses, all of them. We start with a question word, or sometimes there are words. We then have the auxiliary verb. You need to learn this term, the auxiliary verb, the little verb. It's a really important term for you to remember. And look at them. There are loads of different ones. There's do, there's did, there's are, and there's were. Then we have the subject, which in this case, because we're asking questions to each other, it's always going to be the word you for now. But then we have the main verb, and we need to get that right as well. Now look, in the present simple, we use the present simple auxiliary verb, which is do. And of course it could be where does he as well. But even if it's where do you or where does he, because you've used the auxiliary verb do, the main verb is always infinitive, present simple first person. So even if we write where does he, we would still use the infinitive form of the verb. This is important to remember. This is the same for all of the present simple. There's got present simple here, we've got present simple here and here. So present simple, we need to remember, where do you come from? Where does he come from? This is important. Here we have the past simple. Where did you go yesterday? And once again, in the third person, this is slightly different because it's a little bit easier. For the third person, we also use did. There's only one here in the past simple for negatives and questions. And once again, as soon as you use the auxiliary verb do or does, don't or doesn't, did or didn't, the main verb is always going to be infinitive. Remember that. That's really important. That's the same for all of our past simple questions and answers. Now, present continuous uses the auxiliary verb to be, and then it uses the verb in the ing form. And all we need to do is remember the structure of questions. Question word, the auxiliary verb to be in the present, because it's present continuous, and then the main verb in the ing form. Remembering that if you change it to the third person, you need to change this little verb, why is he studying, for example. And finally, the past continuous uses were for you, but if we want to make it third person, it would be, when was she meeting with her friend? We need to change this as well. So there's a few changes we need to make. One of the things I've noticed about you guys being Chinese and the Brazilians that I teach is that whenever I ask you for the name of a tense, you tell me that it's the simple present or the continuous past. I would prefer it if you used present, past or future first and then the simple or continuous or the perfect or whatever. The reason I like that is because it follows the flow of the language. Because the first thing we see here, the first verb, is the verb that shows you if it's present or past. That's why I like to say present first. And then we look at the next verb and we go, present simple, past simple, present continuous, past continuous. Now, the only other thing to tell you about questions in the English language is from this little mistake over here. Where do you come from uses the verb come, so we need to use the verb come in the answer. I come from, I think it was Scotland in the example. If you use the verb to be, you answer with the verb to be, and the structure is different and simpler. We use just a question word, then we use the main verb to be, and then we use the subject. So it's a simpler form of present simple and past simple. And this structure only exists in present simple or past simple language. For all of the other tenses, including the present simple and past simple, when you use a different verb, this is the structure you must always use to ask questions. Of course, when you get more advanced, you learn about indirect questions, short questions that don't use the question word, and lots of other things. But to ask good full questions, this is how we do it at first. Thank you.